Welcome to this week's episode of EcoYogis, a series where we hear from spiritual yogis on how the unique paths of spirituality and environment align. My name is Lauren, and this series is an initiative of the Brahma Kumaris Australia. For today's conversation, we're back on Australian soil. I'm pleased to welcome today Rebecca Attwood. Welcome, Rebecca.
Hello.
So Rebecca is the coordinator of the Environmental Special Interest Group here at the Brahma Kumaris Australia. So we're looking forward to hearing more about that today. Rebecca has been practicing meditation now for many, many years. She came across the Brahma Kumaris 35 years ago, so comes with a huge wealth of experience and depth of spiritual practice. Today she teaches meditation from the Gold Coast in Queensland. And at least for me personally, I see Rebecca as a great example of being the embodiment of peace, calm and tranquility. And I think when we're talking about topics that can be particularly heated like the environment and climate change, these are all really fantastic qualities to be able to bring to the table. So Rebecca, it's a pleasure to have you here today. And I was hoping to start off by asking you about the role that you play coordinating the Environmental Special Interest Group here at the Brahma Kumaris Australia. Can you tell us a bit about that group and what your role entails?
Yeah, so the Environment Special Interest Group, I think, started around 2007. What we do is support the environment initiative, so the Brahma Kumaris Environment Initiative. So the aims of that initiative are to educate and promote eco-friendly practices in our centres and also help the public to understand more about the environment and how to take care of the environment, and in particular how spirituality can benefit the environment.
Thanks for sharing that. So this series, for example, EcoYogis, that's an initiative of this interest group. How did it come about?
Ananya, who is our youth representative, she came to me with an idea to interview Sister Genty, who will be speaking next week, and for Mother Earth Day. And I'd been thinking about having interviews with all of the main players in the environment initiative for some time. So I said to her, well, what do you think about, doing that? So interviewing everyone. And so she was keen. So that's how it came about. Yeah.
Wonderful. That's a great initiative. So the next question I was wanting to ask was, a bit of a big question. The environment is one of the biggest, if not the biggest, issues of this time of our lives, really. Of course, there's the pandemic as well. That's also quite big. But I was wondering, was there any particular moment where you felt the call to be involved with environmental initiatives, or anything that particularly moves you to be part of this?
Probably about 2009, probably around the time that the Environment Initiative started. We had a retreat at our headquarters in India, and there was a presentation about the Environment Initiative, and in particular one activity, and that was to create certificates for all the centres, to do audits of all the centres, the Brahma Kumaris centres, to see how much they were practicing eco-friendly activities. And it just grabbed me. I just really liked that idea. I thought, wow, what a wonderful idea, because it would show the public what we're doing for the environment and also educate our students about the environment. So that's probably when I became really interested in the Environment Initiative. But I guess it stems from, my upbringing. I was brought up on a dairy farm and very much in nature. So a beautiful farm with lots of native bush and a creek running through it. And so I just had a lot of love for nature. Yeah.
So you've been studying and practicing meditation and spirituality with the Brahma Kumaris for many years now. Can you tell us your story about that as well? Perhaps if there was a particular moment where you felt some sort of awakening within?
I came across the Brahma Kumaris when I was travelling around Australia in Sydney. And I guess all throughout my life I had had some different spiritual experiences from time to time. I remember when I was very young, kneeling at my bed at night and talking to God. And when my parents were divorcing, when I was in my late teens, I found myself under a big pine tree, and I don't know what happened, what I was thinking about. I just my mind just went to God, and I just said to him, I know that you're there. I don't know what happened after that or why I even said that, but that's always stuck in my mind. And then when I was travelling in Australia, I came to Australia when I was 19, and the aim was to travel and work and save and then go through Asia and Europe. And I was working on a station, and someone there, we used to have groups of geologists coming through every now and then. And one of the guys gave me a book called Illusions by Richard Bach. And I had a really, really spiritual experience reading that book. And then I wound up in Queensland, and a friend of mine came over from New Zealand, and he was telling me about a meditation group that he had joined. And I thought that once I got to Sydney, because I was moving to Sydney, I would see if I could join a meditation group as well. And eventually, once I'd got settled in Sydney, I was looking in the paper one night, and I saw a tiny little ad for a meditation course, which was free. So I went along to that, and just really liked the people and liked what I was hearing, the teachings, and it all made sense to me. It was totally logical and really answered all the questions that I'd ever had about life. And then one night, just before the course finished, I had an amazing meditation experience. I didn't even know how to meditate. I didn't know what I was doing. But this night I was just pulled into a really amazing experience of being completely unaware of my body and my surroundings. And I felt myself to be perfect, a perfect being. And I was just surrounded with love, I guess, and just a sense of being my perfect self, which was something that I'd always wanted. Two things that I'd always wanted in my life were to be a perfect person and to live in a perfect world. And the teachings of the Brahma Kumaris, when I did the course, I could see that if I put these into practice, then a perfect world could be created. Or if enough people put the teachings into practice, this knowledge into practice, then a perfect world would be created.
Actually, that leads on quite nicely to the next question, and maybe I could ask you a little bit more now. How, explaining from your perspective, how can our own spiritual practice actually help the environment and the rest of the world and nature?
I think a spiritual practice helps us to reconnect with ourselves and reconnect with others and with our environment. I think we've become very disconnected from ourselves and from nature, and a spiritual practice, and particularly one that includes study of spiritual truths and meditation, helps us to have that connection again. When we don't feel connected, then it's very easy to abuse the world, to abuse nature, to just not even feeling that my actions have any consequences. And with Raja Yoga meditation, which is what we practice in the Brahma Kumaris, we learn about the environment within. So, how do I feel within? Is my inner being peaceful and calm and content? Do I feel respectful, and can I care? And then the inner environment affects our home environment and our work environment and the environment that we find ourselves in with friends. And then, of course, it affects the outer environment, so nature as well. So I think a spiritual practice where we're constantly or regularly connecting with ourselves, with our inner selves, and spending time with our inner selves, getting to know ourselves again, and getting to know our qualities of care and love and peace and respect, helps us to start behaving in this way. And other practices that we have are a vegetarian diet or a vegan diet. And I think many people know the benefits for the environment of a plant-based diet. So we're not causing distress to animals, we're not violating them in any way. And then there's the land and the water. So much is used for the production of meat in particular, whereas and it only feeds so many, whereas if the land and the water, a fraction of the water actually, was used to produce crops, a lot more people would be fed and the environment wouldn't suffer. And also the peace that is generated through this lifestyle, a lifestyle of simplicity and economical living. So the peaceful energy that's generated by living this kind of life is very helpful. A little while ago I learnt about the real meaning of eco. It comes from a Greek word, oikos, which means home or habitat. And when we think about the environment as our home, and we can think about, the home of the self and here, is this environment happy and peaceful and calm, content? And then the outer environment, is my home the same? Is my place of work the same? My home, the world, the same? So that's what I would say about the teachings and the lifestyle.
And then talking about Brahma Kumaris' involvements with the environment as well, can you talk to us about some of the projects that the Environmental Initiative has been involved with?
We've created retreats for professionals in the environment arena. And we also hold retreats for members of our environment group. We create meditations for nature, and we usually run these in conjunction with the United Nations International Days. Last year we created a 12-hour meditation for our World Food Day, which was a lot of fun to create. We had meditations and talks by people and visuals of nature. So that ran for 12 hours on that day. And earlier this year we held the first local conference of youth in Australia. So this is again in conjunction with the United Nations, and these conferences are for young people who want to come together and talk about environmental issues and what they can do and what they would like their governments and businesses to do about the environment, and in particular the the crisis that we're in at the moment. So these conferences are like mini COPs, and they were created so that young people could have a voice at the COPs. We felt very privileged to run the first of these in Australia, and again that was a lot of fun. So we do a variety of different activities for our own community to be involved in, and also for the public.
It's quite a good good involvement in different areas and different groups that are connected to the environment. I know young people are, a lot of people are quite upset about it. So it's, I think it's really nice to have something constructive and, with a positive focus like spirituality to be able to lean on with that. So another bit of a tricky question for you, this next one. So when we are looking in the world of, climate change action and environment and all of that, there are some out there who might not believe in it. They might not believe in climate change. So do you have any tips on how we can interact with those people? Perhaps if they don't believe in things like recycling or anything like that, as a yogi, what would be some tips that you would give?
Yeah, I don't know that I would get too involved with anyone who was anti doing anything for the environment. Sometimes humour can help. It can plant a seed in someone's mind for them to think about perhaps later. Or it can also shake people into, thinking a bit more deeply about things. With people who question whether, what's the point in doing something like recycling, I would just always encourage them to do the right thing. Even if we don't know that what we do put out in our recycling is actually being recycled, and it's not going into landfill, I think just the act of doing something that we know is right is a good thing to do. In the Brahma Kumaris, we have the understanding that the more that I support good behaviour, then the more I'm likely to behave in that way. So it's strengthening our character of caring and respect for the environment.
Thank you. And I like the tip about using humor as well. That's a good hint. So as we are coming to one of our last questions for today, we've been asking our eco-yogis to issue a challenge for us to take up to help heal the environment. So what would be the challenge that you would like to give us for this week?
My challenge would be to spend some time in nature every day, or some time appreciating nature every day. So if you can't get out into nature, you can't go for a walk, for instance, then look out the window at the sky, at the ocean, at a river, at a tree, at the rain, and just spend some time appreciating what you see. And or else just stepping outside the front door and looking up into the sky and watching the clouds or the blue sky or the grey sky, or the moon and the stars at night or the dark sky, and thinking about the wonder of nature. So that would be my challenge. So for 7 days, for a week, to spend some time in nature or spend some time appreciating nature. And it's actually been found that in studies that the more people spend time in nature, the more that they will appreciate it and they will care, they will start to create caring feelings for nature and start looking after it. So yeah, I think that would be a good thing for everyone to do.
I'll look forward to doing that. I quite like that challenge.
Yeah.
All right, so to wrap up for today's session, would you be able to lead us for a few minutes of meditation?
Yeah, sure. So just get yourself into a comfortable position. And you can keep your eyes open if you like, and just rest them on a point in front of you, perhaps the candle next to me or the flowers. So just resting your eyes, and relaxing your body. Letting your shoulders drop, your forehead relax, your whole face relax, your chest and your arms, and your back, your stomach and your hips, all the way down your legs. Completely relax. Now that the body is relaxed, just step inwards. To that place behind your eyes, behind your forehead, where you, the soul, the spirit, sit. And just sit here, aware of yourself, in this quiet, still space. Behind the eyes, behind the forehead. You, the soul, sit here looking through the eyes. You hear through the ears. You speak through your mouth. And you act through your body. But you are not your body. You are an eternally living being that sits in the body. And being aware of yourself right now, ask yourself, what environment am I creating within? Do I feel peaceful, content, happy? Are my thoughts peaceful and happy? Because I know that whatever environment I have within, that energy creates the environment outside. So all I have to do to create a peaceful and happy environment is to create peaceful and happy thoughts and feelings. I have the ability to do that. And when I create peaceful and happy thoughts and feelings, I affect my home, I affect my workplace, I affect the people I'm with, and I affect nature. Om Shanti. I am a peaceful being.
enjoyed that meditation and also hearing all these stories today, both of your background as well as the stories of the Environmental Initiative in Australia. And I think for me, one of the tips I'll definitely be taking away is using the humour in those difficult situations. All right, so Rebecca, I'd like to thank you for your time today and all the great work that you do in this space. And for everyone watching today, please stay tuned for next week's episode coming soon with Sister Janti. Is that correct, Rebecca?
Yes.
Thank you. All right. Good night.